Urashima Eiji is your average 20-year-old university student, and truth be told, this man is down horrendous, with just the opening panel being very telling of that fact. It's a scene many are familiar with, a group of friends just hanging out. Some stuff happens, Eiji reveals his deep, dark secrets, and we come to find out he is, in fact, a virgin. Big shocker, I know. The rest of the day proceeds as normal. He goes home, he goes to bed, and so ends October 23rd. The 24th begins, and suddenly our boy Eiji is sleeping next to the baddest bitch from school. He doesn't know why he's sleeping next to her, nor does he have any recollection as to how he got her here in the first place, but those who enjoy life are winners, so don't sweat the small stuff. All that matters now is he's got a girl, and so Eiji gleefully looks forward to the future, excited for what's to come. That is, until abnormalities in his daily life start to occur. A supposed gang member bowing to his very presence, a bundle of cash kept hidden in his room, his bruised knuckles, his involvement with a criminal organization Skull, his connection to Hatanaka Yoko, and most importantly, his lack of memories regarding all of this. In the first place, isn't today the 24th? No, it's not. Today is the 27th. And what that means is that for 3 whole days, Urashima Eiji was not present, or rather, his memories of said period of time were null and void. They were missing. And as readers, immediately after learning of this fact, we start to ask, why were they missing? What could have caused them to disappear? What exactly did those memories entail? Was it a singular instance of amnesia, or something far more sinister? Urashima Eiji has a deep, dark secret, a secret once mentioned in the opening panels of this manga, and one that has continuously caused all girls within his vicinity to shy away. This secret, of course, being Urashima Eiji is the son of a serial killer. 15 years ago, a person known as LL brutally murdered and sadistically tortured several university girls one after the other. In the end, leaving behind only torn, mangled, and disfigured versions of their former selves. These were stomach-sinking acts performed by someone who was undeniably sick in the head. Someone who was none other than Eiji's father. This is the real truth behind Eiji's upbringing, a life filled with scorn and hate where he was ridiculed and despised for merely existing. After all, from the eyes of onlookers, the son of a serial killer should have no right to live, leading to, as you'd expect, trauma. Yet despite this, Eiji has tried his hardest to live a life true to himself, unshackled by the chains of his father. But there's a difference between running from your past and growing from it. And very quickly, Eiji comes to learn of that difference as the same murders from 15 years ago reappear. LL is back. My Dearest Self with Malice Aforethought, which by the way is one sick-ass title, is a manga that slowly lures you in. It baits you with its premise and its countless mysteries, and the second you're within its grasp, the manga completely and utterly takes hold of your very being and never once lets you go. It continuously engages, it continuously provides surprise after surprise after surprise, and it continuously breathes life into its own story. Whether it be through the recontextualization of former plot threads or the unraveling of unknowns, this manga unforgivingly and relentlessly sucks you in. Even by just judging the story based purely on the contents of the first 10 chapters, its quality is very much so evident. Effortlessly, it sets up a foundation and so easily twists and contorts itself in such a way that readers can do nothing but indulge in anticipation of what happens next. The story begins with a lighthearted tone, and through it, it creates such an expectation. But by alluding to small, unnerving details, questions start to arise. Eventually, those questions turn to doubts, and those doubts, in turn, become reality as we slowly but surely uncover the truth. A truth much larger and far more complex than one would initially think it to be. This is a story surrounding Eiji and his journey of self-discovery, of him finding clues and piecing them all together to unearth his missing memories and by extension to inevitably face off against LL himself. But while that may sound relatively linear in structure and theory, the manga time and time again shatters any and all expectations through plot twist after plot twist. Eiji has a dissociative personality disorder, and depending on the day, he's either himself or he's B1. The times he's not in control are times he has no recollection of, and coincidentally, the time B1 is in control are times when history starts to repeat, when the same murders of the past are recreated. And so, as a means to prevent another tragedy from happening, Eiji thrusts himself into this cold and ruthless world of which is completely unrecognizable to him. A world where every step taken could very easily be at the expense of his own life. What he's dealing with are real, fully capable murderers. People who have seen the light in others fade away and have actively found pleasure in it. But it's precisely this danger, this genuine threat of consequence, that creates for some of the most stress-inducing, suspenseful scenarios and sequence of events to see unfold. There are several moments where Eiji is backed into a corner, moments away from his life being snuffed out, and all hope seems lost. But by willingly accepting that risk and plunging right in, he's able to acquire pieces to the grander puzzle. The dots start to connect, he finds answers, but with more answers comes more perplexing questions and even more incomprehensible revelations. Revelations that actively contradicted all that he was led to believe, and on more than one occasion recontextualized his entire journey up until this point, when a climax was reached and Eiji's resolve was broken in the process. The first mystery this manga introduces pertains to the death of Hatanaka Yoko, and don't worry, that's not a spoiler because it literally happens in chapter 1. But following this mystery, the manga then explores different aspects of B1 and gradually unmasks his true colors. While Eiji is kind and compassionate, B1 is detached, emotionally distant, cold, guarded, and supposedly hollow. Likewise, while Eiji is clumsy, B1 is precise, calculative, focused. He's a character who's got nothing to lose because he's already lost it all. He is driven by rage and desperately wants to get back at the world for destroying his life. Whether it be through manipulation or deception, B1 utilizes anything and everything as a means to reach his desired end. And yet, for such a person, cracks in his blackened exterior eventually seep through. We learn about his side of the story and why he did what he did. We learn about his motivations, his reason to be, and what set him off in the first place, all of which is perfectly and vividly portrayed through intricately detailed and beautifully captured shots and imagery showcasing emotion. When I see shit like this, I start feeling for these characters, and when I start feeling for these characters, I get more invested in the story, and when I get more invested in the story, I get progressively nervous whenever shit hits the fan, and whenever shit hits the fan, I pray for shit to stop hitting the fan. But because this manga likes to play with my feelings and keeps on introducing new mysteries followed by plot twists that have their own fucking plot twists, I'm left there hopelessly turning page after page with my eyes glued to the screen, both excited yet anxious over the next great reveal. There's honestly so much content I want to discuss because of how blown away I was every time the author showed his hand, but because this is a psychological thriller, I can't go too deep into it without spoiling the mystery. But you should know that when I say this story will make you forget to do unholy things, I wholeheartedly mean it. It's the type of manga that'll keep you up till 6 in the morning when the birds are chirping and suddenly you realize you got class and you're running on 0 hours of sleep. I know this because this comes from personal experience. I literally read it in one go from start to finish and then proceeded to fight my demons. But sidetracking aside, let's talk more about Eiji. Eiji is a character I personally really felt for, seeing as how he was forced to live a life filled with contempt despite him never having done anything wrong. I rooted for him and wanted to see the guy happy because he was wronged for all his life, which was a feeling that only grew stronger as he displayed these small moments of vulnerability. Likewise, I felt the same way about B1, and maybe even to a stronger degree. Because while he was cold and ruthless for the majority of his screen time, those split seconds where his mask fell off and his emotions got the best of him hit hard. Obviously, the two are very much so drastically different characters, but each of them have this side to them that they rarely show to others, with one just wanting to be loved and the other just wanting to make right of his wrongs, conflicted over whether his actions are the right ones. Stuff like this got me invested in their respective journeys and the people they encountered along the way. Yoko, for example, a character tied to B1, was someone I initially did not care for. She was dead in the literal first chapter, and I didn't expect her to invoke much of an emotional payoff. But surprisingly, the author does a great job in fleshing her out and is able to really convey the tragedy of her character. A person who deserved much better, but unfortunately was never able to live the life she dreamed. The scene where she openly tells B1 to use her and his resolve in accordance wavers is one out of many scenes that I still remember because of how well handled it was. In fact, it was emotional touches like this that I think elevated this manga to heights that wouldn't be possible without, and overall made it a whole lot more impactful as well as memorable. I've made it pretty clear by now, but my dearest self with Malice Aforethought does a phenomenal job in hooking the readers and getting them to ask their own questions and to find their own answers. It allows them to interpret all the clues available and utilizes their imagination to its own benefit. Readers are given the freedom to analyze and theorize as much as they desire, only to then be proven completely wrong through the addition of multiple jaw-dropping plot points, which in turn lead to further speculation and wonder, an effect that's repeated time and time again. It's a constant influx of mind-numbing revelations that just keep on giving. You read from chapter to chapter, unsure of whether or not the future is one of hope or despair. You shift from highs to lows, from light to darkness. You start to care for characters you previously had no attachment to, and you start to despise those you once did. At certain points, you're openly lied to and made a fool of, led to believe in one thing when in reality it was another. Accordingly, your perception of what's real becomes warped as half-truths and lies lead to the manipulation of information. But it's by seeing it all through, the burdens our characters carry, the hurdles they face, the pain they endured, we're able to finally experience the culmination of everything this manga had built itself up to be in one last stretch, one final payoff where the real truth is brought to light and justice is served. It's a conclusion that fully brings the story full circle and conveys a genuine sense of catharsis. The loose ends are tied up, the unknowns are made known, and in the end, you are given closure.